Hopefully you've been reading a number of these messages on our YouTube site. This one is entitled Locating Your Spiritual Self. Locating your spiritual self. Well, there's a reason that we need to do this as part of the healing process. You have to know there is a self that's spiritual, number one, and number two, you have to know how do you find it. Kind of important, because it's your spiritual self in which healing is given to you through, and salvation, the ultimate return of the real you to your real home in God, takes place through that spiritual self, not through your human mind. It has nothing to do with it, nothing to do with it at all. There is a self which is the you, the you. And only when you experience it, when you know that it's present, that you have felt it, are you then reinforced, firmed up in the knowledge of who you are, what your job is in this world, and why you're going home as the end point when your job is done. And so we have to cover this kind of thing. Now, in Scripture, in your Gospels, any number of times God addresses the fact, Jesus addresses the fact with you, that we're lost. He has the story of the lost sheep. Everybody's in the pen, and one sheep is missing. And stop the works, stop the actions, hold up everything. We got to go find that one who's missing. And out he goes, the good shepherd, to go find the one that's lost, that's missing, doesn't know his place in the sheep pen with his shepherd. And that's us. The lost sheep refers to us as the lost sheep. And then you see Jesus telling you, look, you've got to have help in order to be able to overcome your lostness. And you find that in the story in which Jesus says, look, O ye who are tired and overburdened, let me bring you peace. I know how to do it. You don't know how to do it. You don't know why you feel so overburdened and lost. And he says, you're going to have to yoke yourself to me. Yoke yourself. If you're not yoked to me, you're lost. You'll go wandering off. You have to yoke yourself to me so that I can take you in the direction that you're going. Very, very important. He doesn't say, oh, don't worry about being lost or anything. Hey, just say, yes, yes, I'm listening to you, and that's enough. It is not. It is not. It's that you will get the realization inside yourself of your godliness. I'm sorry, Jesus says, don't you know you're God? Oh, well, I'm not a God. God is one God. That's God. Don't tell me that I'm God. Sorry. In every way, you are made in the likeness and image of God. In every way, you're made in the likeness and image of God except one. God's the original creator, you're a created one. But in that created one, you're everything that God is. So yes, I'm sorry, you are God. And check it out in Psalm 82. God speaks to his gods. God speaks to his assembly of gods. That's us, assembly. Come to the assembly. That's what we are. And so the search for yourself has to involve a dependency on God to be able to lead you there. And when he says that the kingdom is inside yourself, which Jesus says, where is the kingdom? It's inside you. No, it's not up at cloud number 24. It's not in the sunset. The kingdom is inside you. And so you're getting all the hints of the direction that you've got to go. And that's what I'm going to be reading here to you from the footladder of Notes Divine. It's verse number 360. By the way, if I didn't say it in the beginning, hi gang, I'm Dr. Bob Weltman. And the footladder of Notes Divine is the writings over a 13-year period at this point, which God has set out a healing curriculum to me day after day after day, in order to be able to lead us through to the awareness of yourself and to where we're going, getting home. And this is number 360 out of the Foot Ladder. And you'll find it, Foot Ladder of Notes Divines, on our website, www.christianlaityfoundation.org. You'll find it. And he starts out and he says, you're looking in the wrong places. The sentence is, watch not, don't go looking. Watch not for temples made of silt and stones. Now, if the temple is inside you, you don't have gallbladder stones and kidney stones, etc., that's the temple. That's not what he's saying. What he is saying is, don't look for temples made of silt and stone, because that's not what your temple is. Your temple, that holy self that you are, that holy self is not a building made of stones and silt. Silt, by the way, is a combination of clay and sand, some 80% clay and about 20%, clay and 20% sand, something like that. That's what silt is. And it's done by rivers that wash stuff along the bottoms of it, and the bottoms fill up. And he says, you're looking for something outside of yourself. And he says, watch not, stop doing that. Are you doing it? When you think of yourself, if I said to you, are you a spiritual person? You'd say, yes, I am a very spiritual person. How do you look for it? Well, I go to church every Sunday, I go to synagogue, I go to the mosque, or whatever it is. And do you pray? Yes. And how do you do that? Well, I pray to God. He's out there somewhere, outside, you notice, outside somewhere. He's saying, no, stop that. Stop that. I'm giving you the clue in the scriptures that you have to look elsewhere. And he says that in the next sentence. First sentence again. Watch not for temples made of silt and stones. These gigantic things that we make, that this is the house of God. He said, inward present be me. I'm inside you. Inward present be me. Of loftiness endowed. Of loftiness endowed. Wow. Inside you is this God who is you, and you are endowed with loftiness. 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 Now, hard to believe that, isn't it? And you're right. It's hard to believe because we're so invested in this human state, in this human reality, that we will not feel the loftiness until God brings it to you, that God enables you to see inside yourself this lofty self that you are. Now I'll give you a hint. What is this lofty self? The lofty self is the love of God as you, the way God loves. How does God love? Well, we know. Forgive others. Be compassionate. Pray for those who persecute you. Love your enemies. In plain words, you see everybody in this one way as God. Remember, Jesus says if you visit the prison, you're visiting him there. If you see a person who has no clothing, you're seeing him there. He sees you. You're there, they're there. We're all one with each other. And there is this loftiness that's part of this oneness. That's who you are, a lofty person. Where you can say, well, Bob, okay, I'd like to believe that. I like to believe that. I really want to believe it. I want to see this, and I don't see it. How do I do it? Well, now you're into prayer. Do you want to see that you are indeed made as a God? Do you want to see that this incredible you, which when you receive it inside yourself, becomes a godly representative in this world, that God uses you in order to help people see the love of God, and that you have that love, you represent it, you demonstrate it? Do you want to do that? Do you want to be able to see somebody who mistreats you, misjudges you, criticizes you, whatever it is, abuses you? Do you want to see that person as Jesus states to see this individual? Forgive them, Father, they don't know what they're doing. They're lost. Do you want to bring that concept into the world that even those who persecute you are lost beings, and we have to love them for who they truly are, and for them to see who they might believe they could be if they see it in you because you're demonstrating it to them? A different sense of identity than what they feel about themselves or the way other people are treating them. You bum, how dare you say that to me? I'll slug you in your pusser for what you said. Pusser, kisser. I'll slug you in your kisser for what you said. And at that point, there's your human self. Whereas in your divine self, you would know how to handle that situation exactly as Jesus would, or your God of love, whatever tradition you are, would do. And you say, hey, well, that can be kind of dangerous. Yeah, it doesn't mean that you stand there and you take a slugging. But in trying to hold that person so that he doesn't do more violence, you use a minimum of control, of contentment against him. You don't use as enough to stomp on them and beat them down or hate them for what they're doing, but rather you're treating them by enabling them to get control of themselves, to hold them down in an act of love. Are you ready for that? Do you want this kind of thing in yourself? And you say, well, boy, I don't know about all those kinds of things you mentioned. Well, you're right to say that, because you don't feel it, and you don't realize this great strength that's inside you. You don't realize that it's there. But if you want to take a shot at it, well, it's got to be prayed. Now, how would I do it? Lord, I just heard that there's something lofty about me. I don't feel lofty. Am I supposed to feel it? What's your opinion? Good prayer. Good prayer. You're asking for something that you don't know. Or, Lord, if I'm lofty, does that mean that I got to be different from everybody else in the world? And how are people going to look at me if I stand up for loftiness and for love? How am I going to be able to do that kind of a thing? You're asking a legitimate question. You're acknowledging, I don't know, which is all you need to acknowledge. I don't know. I don't know. Lord, I've been looking for temples outside myself. I've been looking for buildings made out of silt and stone, if you want to use this prayer. And you say, I'm off base. I wish to be on base. You have to let that kind of thing happen. Well, if you do, you're on track for God to be able to answer you. And in the second part of this topic, we're going to move into how God explains to you to do this kind of a thing. So hold on to your hat and get ready for part 2.